think it's time for you to answer a couple of important questions which the viewers would like answering, really. I think it's time for you to kind of explain why the hell have you dropped all those amazing scrapey videos? All the audience want to know.
Okay, so as far as this is not the very first take already, so a little slow.
Yeah, we had
Hopefully,
technical issues.
well, yeah, hopefully the behind the scenes video, the scenes of this interview is going to be available on Code Games channel as
The
well.
outtakes.
A little bit of a spoiler. So yeah, as far as I've been talking about this several times already, so I'll now try to be really short. So the idea
Yeah,
is simple. When I just started YouTube, I really didn't intend to start making scrapey or whatever other business sensitive topic videos. My initial goal was to learn to talk in English and code simultaneously. That was it. So I always had an understanding that without a proper knowledge of English, without being fluent, without being capable of expressing your mind in English when it comes to some tech stuff like programming, you can't be a good freelancer because you would be doomed to work in outsourced companies most likely. But actually dealing with the actual clients would raise your income significantly. So that's the reason why I was always targeting kind of like Western clients. So I'm from Ukraine. That's the reason why I'm talking about Western clients. So to the west from the perspective of my geolocation. So the Western clients was kind of the initial source is the initial source of the income for outsourced companies in my country. So I thought that why do I need to pay to those outsourced companies if I can work with the clients directly? So the initial goal was to get in touch with these clients directly. But at that time, I didn't even start making money on freelance, and I had a completely different job, which I hated with all my heart. And actually, one day I felt like I really want to change my life and become a programmer and start freelance and start making money on this. So a few words about the background. I was on.
Had you order? Can I just step back in? Had you already been using a computer at home? Had you
Yeah, obviously,
even
obviously,
when you were a teenager and when
yeah,
you
yeah.
were younger? Did
When
you
I was
just write stuff?
when I was a kid, when I was just
Mm.
born, I was around 2 years old, and my dad uh, is that called soldier? This man
Yep.
like this soldering details, like soldering wires. Do I say this word probably?
Solder,
Solder. No,
electronics, soldering electronics.
solar. So my dad had that sort of a tool, and he made a homemade PC, and that was ZX Spectrum, or also it was known as Sinclair. Sinclair was
Yep.
the last name of the guy, I guess, in England, right? That's created that sort of. So that was the
Clive Sinclair.
Sinclair, yeah.
In
So that
fact,
was.
in fact, I have one downstairs.
Whoa, this is amazing. My dad
In a
had.
minute, later on in the video, if you talk to the audience, I'll go and fetch it. We'll save that as a little treat.
Yeah, it would be fun to make some special video covering this because this is the real
Mm.
legacy. And that was my
Yeah.
very first experience with computing, with computers and programming as well, because you can't do anything on that computer if you don't code in basic language. That was the
Yeah.
the programming language called Basic. It was hard coded into that computer. So as long as it's boots, you see this kind of interactive shell, and you can. It didn't have a hard drive. It actually had tape. So all the
Yep.
programs were stored on the tape. So you need
And
to
48K of memory.
absolutely, yeah,
Mm.
48 kilobytes of memory. The very initial, the most hardcore version. They had a 128 bits later on, but the most hardcore version was this one, 48 bits. Yeah, so that was my very first experience. And well, I was a kid. I was just wanted to play games, so I just typed like load and then start the tape, and
Yep.
I kind of load in the game. Once I also had a. By the way, I know you'll ask me why I call myself Komaki Kin. Just preceding this a little bit, just a bit of a spoiler. So there was a book like 48 programs in Basic, and
Yep.
there were games to play. Games like, let's say, Snake. So when I
Yeah.
wanted to play a snake game and I didn't have that snake game on the tape, what I needed to do, I was a kid, I was around, I don't know, maybe 7 years old. I opened up the book and I saw the code, this code in BASIC for how to play Snake, and that was around 200 lines. I did
Yeah.
input those 200 lines by hand,
Yeah.
and then I played a game for 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
then I turned the computer off. And next time, if I wanted to play Snake, I needed to type this 200 lines again.
Yeah. And there was no copy and paste.
There was no copy and paste. I needed to type in everything. So that's the very initial origin of
And
word.
that code was all in English, so you got
Obviously.
exposure to English very early.
Well, at that time I didn't know English at all, but
Okay.
there were commentaries in Russian and the code in English, and the code in that BASIC was very simple, like do.
Yeah, but even the word run and load.
Yeah,
English.
run, load. Well, but I knew those words. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
the simple words I couldn't talk at the time, but
No.
obviously I knew the words like do, while, for, next,
Yeah. Go
run,
to.
load, go to. Yeah, go to is my favorite operator even now. Can you believe it?
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone on Stack Overflow in the programming world says this, you must never use it.
I disagree. I think that Koto is the most intriguing one, because what happens under the hood, you just literally using this jump command. So the instruction pointer jumps from the single place in the stack where the program is written to somewhere different one. And this is so amazing when you understand how this stuff works on the lower level. It's so cool.
Oh, so if you understand assembly, that's all that the go-to's doing.
I had an experience in assembly, and the most complicated thing I've ever written in NASM assembly. There are many assemblies. I use NASM, NASM. I created a move generator to generate valid moves in chess. So chess move generator, not the entire chess game, but just the move generator, based on Micromax by Harmgerd Muller. Once I did it, I had that experience. And I need to say that when I mastered this lowest level program control flow, like what's the function call from the very lowest level perspective? So what's the instruction pointer? What's the stack? How the memory operates? This really helped me to understand the floor of programming. And when you have that sort of a basics, it's not a problem to master a high-level framework like C.
Yeah, because all we're doing is we're just moving things around in memory. That's all we're doing.
It's all about manipulating the memory, obviously. It's just the more complicated programs arising, just the level of abstraction is growing. So all this kind of object-oriented stuff, like why it comes actually, because it's just the higher level of abstraction. That's kind of it. It's very, very simple. So just to turn back a little bit before I lost my thought completely. So initially, I just wanted to change my life completely. I started so I decided that there is a problem where you don't have a job because you don't have experience, and if you don't have experience, you will not land a job, right? So that's a never-ending loop. So I've invented my own way of how to bypass this sort of a thing, and I decided that I just need to start doing things to get experience, and no matter if anyone actually needs that. So I decided.
And again, that's you're solving a problem, aren't you? It's all about problem solving.
Yeah, it's all about problem solving, and well, I didn't have particular technical problems, but my problem was actually to talk in English and to code simultaneously. That was my problem. So then I just started doing different things, and I would say that web scraping wasn't the very beginning of my channel. So I started with a bit more of web development currently. So first, my first jobs as a freelancer were related to web development. I had a few hourly paid contracts on Upwork related to web development. Web scraping was involved there as well, but when I just started, I didn't feel that confident in web scraping. And then the most fun thing that I believe no one on Code Marketing's channel knows this, because I've never been talking about this. You probably don't know this as well. When I started making these tutorials on web scraping, do you know what was the preceding thought to that? Do you know? What was the preceding thought?
Chess. It was to do with chess.
No, it wasn't. No? It wasn't related to chess.
Okay.
I wanted to start making money on pure web scraping. Because before that, I was making money on web development that was wrapping web scraping code. So like a web application to run the scrapers, to stop the scrapers, to schedule the scrapers, to manipulate the data being stored to the database. Very stuff related to what you're currently doing on YouTube, like this MySQL
Yeah.
stuff and things like that. But I had a very clear understanding that if I work on hourly based projects on Upwork, I'm really tied to the client, and this is a bit of a slavery. And freedom is something which is the most important thing in my life, right? So I
Yeah.
really,
Can I interrupt? What is how do you define freedom?
uh, freedom is the situation where you can express your nature, your internal nature, without any tension. That's the freedom.
Tension. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you have the
Because
freedom,
you
if you,
can have financial freedom.
if I,
Well, no, actually, no.
and like
You can,
in one of my last videos, I said, for those of you who believe that money is freedom, you just go freelance and this is for you. This was a
yeah,
sarcasm, right?
yeah,
I just
yeah,
said that words. So if you think that money means freedom, you just go freelancing. Because I think
yeah,
that money is not freedom. So freedom is something when you're not, uh, when you don't find yourself under the pressure, when there is no tension, when
yeah,
everything in your life flows naturally, when you don't put enormous effort to make money, when you just being your own self, being
yeah.
Coma Kicking, being Dr. Pi, and getting paid for being Coma Kicking or getting paid for being Dr. Pi. That's the true
Absolutely.
freedom. That's the true freedom.
Yeah,
And in order to achieve that sort of a thing, the only effort we need is the effort to delve deeper within your own nature to reveal something unique that no one else can do. And in that case, you don't need to fight others to land the niche. In that case, you can simply kind of like just be very creative and do your own job that no one else can actually do. And this is good enough for a living. Well, obviously, you won't be very rich after, but I was never looking for being rich. I was always looking for being free. So that's kind of it. So again, if we just try to go back a little bit,
yeah,
if we could go back to this sort of a thing. So you asked me like, why was web scraping and then something else and what happened? So nothing
yeah,
happened really. What I'm currently doing on YouTube, what I've been doing on YouTube all of the time, just reflects my current interests. So when I was, there was a time when I wanted to start making money on web scraping only because this was a more free schema compared to doing hourly projects at Upwork. So I switched from hourly paid projects to Upwork to doing web scrapers to random people on the internet finding me with the help of my YouTube videos. So I was making like a scraper per person.
yeah.
I've been doing that a lot. Then I had a client that I've been working with for an entire year. We've been making real estate property scrapers to scrape all over to scrape the real estate properties from all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And that was I did earn, I don't know, maybe 4 or even 5 times more compared to what I've earned at hourly projects on Upwork.